before. So these meetings are generally at 2 p.m. and then from 1:45 until 2, we have what's considered a social time. You can just come early and hang out a little bit. And yeah, it's 2, so I don't know if anyone else will be joining, but we'll get rolling. So welcome everybody to the monthly membership meeting for North Dakota Local Foods Development Alliance. And for those of you who maybe haven't joined before, this is a meeting of folks who are interested in strengthening the food systems, local food systems, creating and promoting the local food systems. And we meet every third Tuesday of the month. I believe it's the third Tuesday anyway. So just for some quick introductions, if we could go around the room and just say your name, where you're calling in from, your affiliation, like an organization or farm or where you're coming from there, and then have a little question, a little warm-up question for you. If you could share what your favorite, since it's getting cold, the snow is falling, share your favorite comfort food or comfort beverage, please. And then after you're done, you can just pass it to someone else. So Jenna, would you like to kick us off, please?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Jenna Nieders. I am in Bismarck, and I am the NDLFDA board secretary. And I think my favorite cold season comfort food or beverage. So it's getting to be around Thanksgiving. And so something that I enjoy with my in-laws is the Tom and Jerry mix on some hot and toddies. That is very seasonal, enjoyable tradition for us here. And Candace, you want to go next?
Sure. What was the question? The favorite cold weather
Yeah,
ingredient?
comfort food, comfort beverage, something along those lines.
I'm Candace. I'm with Red River Harvest Cooperative. And I'm gonna go squash. So versatile, and there's so many varieties. And yeah, just been enjoying that. Thank you. Oh, Tracy.
Hi, I'm Tracy Redlin. I'm the executive director at South Central Dakota Regional Council. And I guess I would say soups. I like any of the hearty soups like Nefla, potato, those kind of things. And I'll pass to Stephanie.
Stephanie Bloomhagen. I'm in Bottineau, North Dakota. I'm the executive director of farms. And I'm with you, Tracy. I was going to say Nefla soup. I try not to make it too often because it's pretty high calorie, pretty heavy, but at least once a winter. And I will pass it to Ross.
I'm Ross Lockhart, calling in from Grandin, North Dakota this afternoon. I'm representing Red River Harvest Cooperative today. My favorite comfort food in the winter is a recipe we have at home. I just had it last night, actually. It's like a chicken pot pie and made in a cast iron skillet. So it's good. Thanks. Oh, I gotta pass it. Who's left? Quinn? How about Quinn?
Hello, everyone. Quinn Renfint, board chair, Red River Harvest Cooperative. But since we have two people on here from there, I will choose the North Dakota Farmers Market and Growers Association board member for that. Calling in from Minot, North Dakota, up here in the snow. It's nice and blustery, so feeling that transition hardcore today. Favorite, was it cold season food? Is that what it was?
Yeah. Some comfort food, comfort beverage for you when the snow starts to fall.
Beer. I like beer, dark beer in the wintertime. Ellen.
Ellen Huber, here with the North Dakota Association of rural electric cooperatives, and I'm a soup person too. And besides the kinds mentioned, I'll add cheeseburger soup with some chopped up carrots and potatoes in it to the list. And let's next turn to Shannon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon Ellig. I'm representing Roosevelt Custer Regional Council. And one thing I always look forward to at Thanksgiving and Christmas is homemade lefse. So that's got to be mine. I'll pass it to Emily.
Thank you. Hey everyone, Emily Reno. I'm with Mezclada and I serve on the evaluation team for the state of Minnesota through the North Central Regional Food Business Center. And I'll also facilitate our West Central Food Council. And that's kind of what motivated me to join this. I mean, I have lots of reasons, but I just enjoy learning about what's happening in the other states that are part of our center. And then just, helping connect and facilitate dots. I'm currently calling in from Musquis, Coahuila in Mexico. And one of my favorite comfort foods during the wintertime is probably my mom's potato soup that she makes with these like really thick egg noodles on top of mashed potatoes. It's to die for. So really, really good. And happy to be here. I'm going to pass it on to Jan if you haven't already spoken.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, everybody. Jan Stankiewicz, Community Health and Nutrition Specialist with NDSU Extension. I'm in Bismarck and also the current president for NDL-FDA. And a comfort food, there's a lot to pick from, but I'm going to go with like a good roast out of the slow cooker. It reminds me of, like Sunday family dinners. So I'll go with that. I will hand it over to Paul.
Sure, catch me when I'm looking for something.
Sorry, I did not do that. Do that on
that's
purpose.
fine. That's fine. Anyway, Paul Overby. I'm representing the Northern Plains RC&D Council, and we've got I've done work in local foods, and we're currently working on a food security project. Comfort food, lefse. And I don't know, I jumped in late. So Chris, have you done anything yet?
Not yet.
There you
So
go.
I'm Chris Gessley from the North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Co-ops. I'm a co-op development specialist there in working Mandan. My comfort beverage, I got to go along with Quinn. Founder's Porter. It's the best dark beer I found for winter time. So I'll pass it along to Leslie.
Hey everyone, I'm Leslie Jones. I'm a county agent for NDSU Extension, and I'm in McHenry County, and we're working on possibly starting a community grocery store. So I'm here to listen in. My favorite cold season comfort food is soup, probably, like most of us. I think butternut squash soup is my favorite. And I also joined late. I don't know who hasn't gone.
Teresa, Brian, Casey.
Teresa? All right, we'll call on you, Teresa.
Hi, can you all hear me? Okay, that's a plus. I'm Teresa Veritasi, and I'm a coordinator with Agricultural Marketing Services for the North Central Regional Food Business Center. I'm happy that I could make this meeting. I've been trying to make these for a little bit. And comfort food, I'd say winter squash. I like to grow it and then enjoy it throughout the winter. So that will be my comfort food. And I'm trying to remember who Chris said hasn't gone. Could you raise your hand if you haven't gone yet? Brian.
I'm Brian Guion. I'm the Co-op Development Specialist at the North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Cooperatives. Work with Chris and Ellen. And favorite comfort beverage would be Jack Daniels. That's kind of year round, but it's even better when it's cold outside. Casey, you said left, or who?
Yep, I believe so.
Okay, Casey.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Casey Olson. I am the urban conservationist with North Dakota NRCS. I'm stationed in Bismarck at our state office. I I would have to say my favorite beverage is hot chocolate with some peppermint schnapps.
Excellent. Well, I think that's everybody. So speak up if you didn't go, if I'm missing someone. So thank you for sharing there. And we will roll right into the speakers then. This is a continuation of our Regional Food Business Center Business Builder Grant recipient series. And today we have 2 grant recipients who are willing to share about their projects and their experience with obtaining the funding. And we appreciate them jumping on. So first up, I will introduce Bev Voller. So Bev is from the Hazelton Development Corporation, and she farms with her husband outside Hazelton, North Dakota, kind of the south central part of the state. She retired as executive officer of the Emmons County Public Health Office in 2022 after, was it like 40 years, Bev, give or take? And she is president of the Hazelton Development Corporation. So Bev, you can take it away.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm really impressed with this group. You've got a wide variety of participants, and I'm especially jealous of the gal in Mexico today. So I'm hoping that your next meeting's down there and you can invite me to come along. So let's go for it. Yes, I am the president of our development corporation only by default because I'm in a small rural community, and it seems like there's just a few people that really step up to the plate to try and take on these roles. And my goal as being a member of the development corporation is just to keep our community alive. And we have a school, and we now have grandchildren that are attending the school. And so I just want to keep the community. We're probably less than 200 people in our community. Several years ago, there was our downtown was just really dwindling, and our buildings were dilapidated, and we did a survey to see what the community might be interested in supporting. And it came forward that we need to really fix up our downtown. We're 45 miles from Bismarck, 18 miles from the county seat of Linton. And on that survey, it was indicated that we'd really like to have our grocery store back again. We had a small mom and pop grocery store, and they had retired due to health reasons and age. And so it was closed, and it was an older building that really needed some extra work, and it just wasn't a good fit anymore for the community. So with that, we sought out some funding, and it was a conglomeration of funding from the USDA, Rural Development, Lewis and Clark, community donation, alumni donation, some loans, and a big piece or the hub of the community was that grocery store. So with that, we tried several different small private owners. A husband and wife took it on, and then they sold out to another husband and wife. And what we found was small town grocery stores, there's just not a lot of profit. And so it had closed. And we had this new building which housed the grocery store, a hair salon. There was supposed to be a tech center in there, and then a manufacturing business. Well, the process took a long time. And so the businesses that we were initially going to put in there kind of fell through. And then that grocery store was still the hub. And like I said, it kind of fell through also, just because they couldn't make a big profit enough to support the husband and wife. The wife was still working as a teacher, and he was working for a farmer. So then the community got together, and our development corporation owns the building, still owns the building, and we're within striking distance of having it paid off. But we got the community together and we purchased the inventory. So we became a limited liability corporation with that from the community. I think all of us put in about $35,000 collectively. And was able to get enough inventory to kind of roll around what we have. So we currently still are hanging on by a thread. We hire a manager and some part-time staff, have a lot of volunteers that unload the trucks, help with the maintenance, cleaning, that kind of stuff. And then our development corporation and community donations work to sustain the grocery store. So last year, when the opportunity came forward, that came from the Commerce Department to do a study to see what options there are to keep that grocery store open, I applied on the behalf of the community and the grocery store, and thus started working with Chris and Lori from the North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Cooperatives, and they've been super helpful. And so we got the grant for the $20,000 study, and then we applied for additional funds, and we got the second phase, and then we applied for some HFFI funding, and we got a piece of that. So we've got 3 grants that we're working with right now, and are looking at moving forward with it. So that's where we're at as of today. So our development corporation, of course, is made up of volunteers in the community. And again, it's just a few of us, and we're all getting older, but yet we all have a vested interest in our community. And one thing we always do work really well together. And so I see that if they're not willing so much to come to meetings, but if we need help, we can call on them in the community. So
thanks, Bev. Yeah, and I should say too that in my year in rural development, I found that it's critical to find people in these communities who are drivers of these projects and champion them and make things happen, and are willing to kind of gather people and motivate people to come along with and on these projects. And that is a definite strength of yours. So I guess my question is along those lines of how do you do that? What's your approach to engaging people in the community with these different projects and to kind of help make them believe? Sometimes hope can be in short supply in smaller communities.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think I get it, first of all, from my mom. She was always the cheerleader in the family. And so I kind of have to be the cheerleader on the farm, because farming sometimes can be very depressing also. And so I guess a positive attitude a lot of times is you have somebody that's your leader in your leadership that doesn't have that or portrays it as negative. It feeds the whole community. And so anger breeds anger, and optimism breeds optimism, and that's been my goal my whole life. I've just been a positive person and try and make the best of things.
Yeah, awesome. Were there any questions from anybody or thoughts regarding the grocery store project? I see in the chat here, Emily posted, I'm curious to know if there are resources available to small businesses in North Dakota for energy efficiency retrofits in the same way they're run in Minnesota. This has been a huge source for rural grocery, reducing fixed operating expenses.
I think that REAP funding, and that's kind of what we're looking at too with our building. It's 25 years old. And so we're also looking at what's out there for resources, because that's kind of where we're at. And we're looking at kind of a different business structure. Like instead of us being an LLC, we're looking at becoming a 501c3 and augmenting our business with gaming funds, because that just seems to be where we have to go. Because first of all, these communities all have gaming funds, and there's limited areas where they really can disperse those funds to. And so by going to a 501c3 structure, we're thinking that might be kind of a way to sustain this. And if we have to look at legislative changes or um, trying to get that. So that is a way to approach this. The bigger piece is it might compete with private owners, so we're not quite sure how that would be received. But I think these gaming funds would be a nice way to augment those community-owned grocery stores. Just a thought. Where we are in the process is are they familiar with that RAD co-op up at Park River, this group?
Some might be. Yep, the Rural Access Distribution Grocery Co-op in the northeast part of the state.
Go ahead. So what we're looking at is partnering with some couple of private grocery stores and 3 other private grocery stores to purchase product from the same supplier, distributed to one site, and then we would, within our small community, distribute it to the other grocery stores. So we would be able to split cases and increase our volume and get better pricing. And then we're also working with our local school. They started purchasing produce from our store. So that helps with splitting cases of fruits and vegetables also. And that just came into effect in the last couple of months, and that was as a outreach. So
yeah, excellent. Well, thank you, Bev.
Yeah.
Before we move on, any questions, thoughts, or comments from anybody?
Yeah, this is Emily. I just have one other resource that I want to share in terms of when you're looking at different models for access, and then again, right, like reducing fixed operating costs, because I know in some of the research that I had done several years back, it was basically like a 1-to-1 ratio of reducing your energy or like fixed costs as it related to like your profit margin for a small grocery store. And one of the things that we're seeing in greater Minnesota is a lot more of these like key fob self-serve models, whether it's the 24 access gym that just opened up in Burgess, the town of 350 people, or the small grocery store that also like you're given a key code or something like that, and then you put that pin in order to get into the store. And then that opens up a lot more in terms of like hours that people can access the space, but then it reduced the labor costs in terms of having to have people on site. And it's sort of like a self-checkout system. So if you're looking for additional models too, like feel free to follow up with me directly and I can send you some of those links, because people are trying to be really innovative right now. And I love to see the different models that are popping up.
Yes, thank you.
We have heard about that key fob. I know I've mentioned it to a couple of board members and they're like really scared about doing that. But I think as we go along with the process, that may be a fit for us too. But it's good to know, and it'd be nice to know so we can cite different places that are doing it. And I think they're afraid people are going to walk off with the store, but which is legit.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. And it's being used to some success in Munich in North Dakota, and I haven't seen any numbers or anything on that, but anecdotally, it sounds like it's being successful there.
I'll follow up with Steve Zimmer. Bev, you and I met a while back, help project. Anyway, well, our project, one of our consultants is going to be Steve Zimmer from Munich, and he helped take the Minnesota model and put it to work in Munich. And so maybe at some point, either he or I can be on this, and he can share about what they're experiencing.
I had another.
They charge a membership fee, don't they?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they do. And I can put you in contact with them, Bev, too.
One question I had for you, Bev. So with the Business Builder grant that you guys were awarded, is that basically just used for operations, or is that used specifically for something more specific?
No, it's more specific. We're using it for the coolers, additional coolers. We had applied for another grant for operations, and I didn't allude to that earlier. That was one of the questions I was going to talk about. And yeah, we're looking for some funding for second year operations because, now we got a truck for transporting, and we'll have some additional expenses, and so until we can get our feet off the ground, I think that's kind of where we're going to go.
Gotcha.
Another
Thanks.
grant.
And it could be too, if you do move to that nonprofit model, could open up a new, granting structure for folks in nonprofit.
Okay.
Hi,
Well,
this
if-
is Sandy. I saw in the chat somebody mentioned the USDA REAP grants for the energy. I know that we have a grocery store in my region that is utilizing that program for coolers, and it's, based around the energy efficiency. And they're working with Mitch at Lake Agassiz Regional Council. They got a USDA grant to facilitate those applications because there's the energy audit and all of that. So Mitch is assisting them. And maybe you guys already covered that. I had to step away for a minute, but I just thought I would mention that.
Oh, thank you. That wasn't shared. So that's a
Okay.
good tidbit. And then there's a business in South Dakota called Realizing Rural, and they write REAP grants too, free of charge. So you get federal funding to do that, similar to Lake Agassiz.
Yeah, I think they were both awarded the same award through USDA. It's just Realizing Rural got in on the first round of opportunities, and Lake Agassiz did the second. So, but they're both assisting. Yes, that's correct.
Oh, thank you.
I was going to say CDBG also has an energy assistance program through the Department of Commerce. And that notice just came out in one of their emails, their publicity emails that they sent out within the last month, that they were looking for applications on that one too. So you could reach out to Department of Commerce on that one. CDBG is a little bit more labor intensive though. It can take a bit of time to get those applications through, but thought I would mention it.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Right. Well, thank you very much, Bev. Thanks for your time and for sharing. And we will move on to Ross. So Ross Lockhart is a farmer and co-founding member of the Red River Harvest Co-op. Currently serves as the vice president of the cooperative. And he and his wife Amber own and operate Heart and Soil Farm between Hillsboro and Fargo. That's what I pulled up on Google anyway, Ross.
Ross, my bio was too succinct. You needed more meat in there.
I had to add a little bit of meat to it. Yeah, you're up, Ross. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for that warm introduction. Let's see. I'm going to pull up my bullet points here so I don't forget to touch on everything. But first, I want to take you all back on a bit of a back in time, if you will, back to March of 2020. And I think you probably all recall living through that period when we experienced the shutdowns and everything related to COVID-19 and the pandemic. Myself, my wife and I working as small scale vegetable producers, doing direct to consumer sales. Our primary market channel at that time was farmers market. And so in 2020, we had a pretty interesting season. We had to implement a lot of social distancing policies and things. The farmers market was just a totally different experience than it had been in our prior years as farmers. So along with that, in 2020, there was, some conversations starting up I got to give Candace a lot of credit, who's also on this, Candace Anderson, who's on this call to helping to facilitate some of these conversations between growers. In Fargo-Moorhead, you may recall there was a food cooperative that was open for a couple years called Prairie Roots Food Co-op. But that, unfortunately, that business was unsuccessful. It wasn't able to stay open. So that left, one of our market channels we lost another market channel at that time. I think that was late 2019 when that closed up. So there was all these kind of bad things happening, if you will, if you want to look at them that way, or challenges happening in the 2019 and 2020 period. And so a number of growers, producers like myself, started having conversations about, thinking about it, opening up a new market channel. And obviously at that time, doing online sales was a big opportunity, something that really hadn't been done before in our area with regard to local foods. So the conversations really kept rolling in 2020 and into 2021. And finally, in early 2021, the Red River Harvest Cooperative formed. And we decided, it was myself and 5 to 6 other growers who, I don't want to take all the credit here, but I'm here today, and Quinn is here. He's also one of our founding members. We opted to go with the cooperative model as a business structure because all of us were already in business, and the co-op, afforded us the right structure to allow us to kind of work together and move together as an organization. And so our co-op really focused around the development of an online platform to sell local food products. And so we started that, in our first sales were made in May of 2021. And since that time, we've kind of slowly been muddling along with our little co-op, doing a weekly distribution of exclusively locally grown and produced products. And so, yeah, I mean, it was really simple when we first started. I don't want to provide too much background because I know many of you on this call are probably aware of how we started, but we started very small and scrappy. We basically handed a hat around the room and said, we couldn't meet in person at that time, but, figuratively, a hat around the room to put some money together so that we could purchase the license to the software that we're using and actually secure a location to do our weekly distribution. And that is in Moorhead, Minnesota. And we're actually a North Dakota cooperative. I guess we try to leverage our proximity, our geographical proximity, kind of right on the border between North Dakota and Minnesota. So some of our members, our producer members, are on the Minnesota side, and some are obviously on the North Dakota side. So how did we hear about the Business Builder grant? I guess, after probably 2.5 years, close to 3 years of operations, we're basically existing. We weren't losing a lot of money, but we weren't making a lot of money either. We were, we could find that we could maintain our steady kind of operations, doing pretty modest amount of sales every week. And that's primarily, our capacity as producers, many of whom are also marketing into other channels, other market channels. So farmers markets, restaurants, and then the co-op is kind of maybe that third tier for many of the producers in the co-op. So it's not their primary market, but it's certainly another outlet for those folks to utilize if they see fit. So, we were existing. We said in 2023, we said, well, we got to fish or cut bait here. We need to really figure out how to move this business model forward. And so our emphasis prior to that time had really been, fiercely independent. We were gonna make it on our own. We were gonna, as producers, we were just gonna stick it out and do what we could do. But we found that we really needed to shift our mentality into more of a developing partnerships with other like-minded organizations and finding opportunities where we can leverage, resources and expertise in other organizations, because, we're all a bunch of farmers. So like, what do we know, right? No, I'm joking. We were very fortunate to have a board of directors with a lot of different skills to help bring the co-op together. But we knew that we needed to go outside and find additional expertise. And so, we started having conversations with different organizations. And, I can't say where exactly, maybe Quinn can help me out here, and when we heard about the Business Builder Grant. But I do know that we knew it was on the horizon before it was even available in North Dakota. Like before we could even apply. I mean, we had it on our radar for probably 6 months prior to even being able to apply. I think we were following along with some of the press releases and things from the USDA. So we knew it was coming. We just didn't know when it was going to come and how we were going to, who we were going to work with to put it in an application. We did start working with Lake Agassiz Development Corporation or Council, whatever their correct name is, out of Fargo. They were giving us some technical assistance on that as well to help us steer us in the right direction. But we actually worked with Felicity Merritt, and I'm pretty sure everyone on this call probably knows Felicity. She's a wonderful individual, human being who was willing to help us, actually put the grant together, to help us put the words on paper. We had a number of needs within the co-op, which were, we have a lot of infrastructure needs. Obviously, we need things like cooling facilities and a delivery truck and, those types of things to really help us build out our distribution model. So, she helped us really focus in on what the parameters of the grant were versus what we could apply for. And so we did apply for some assistance with regard to like hiring a local foods coordinator. So a lot of the dollars are kind of dedicated to that, into like labor. But we also had a number of other technology pieces that we wanted to purchase in order to help us stay, we're kind of an e-commerce business, really, ultimately, at the end of the day. So we need good internet connection, good stable internet connection. We need equipment, like an iPad, like those types of logistical tools to help us, run the co-op. So that's, I know I'm forgetting something. Oh, yeah. The other main piece of what our funds are going to be used for are to hold a number of events, like training events. And when we have one coming up actually on December 3rd. So in just a short couple weeks, we'll be hosting our first event in a series of conversations about, working with local food producers, and in particular in a farm to school setting. A number of our members are very interested in getting into more farm to school sales. And we believe that the Red River Harvest Co-op is uniquely positioned to support that effort. As an aggregator of product, basically, we are able to kind of be that middleman, if you will, but we're also the producers, so we think we have a good model, but we obviously need the right infrastructure in place, and we need to have the right knowledge. And so we're hosting a series of training events to just kind of gather more information and figure out, where can we, what does school food service personnel need from us as producers? And then what do we need from them in order to work with them successfully? This has obviously been a big push in North Dakota. I don't know that there are some models that are functioning within the state, but unfortunately not very widespread. So we want to try to move the needle a little bit more in that space as well. So I think that's all the bullet points. Did I miss anything? No, I think that's pretty much it. I'll defer to Quinn and Candace. I know I probably glossed over some important points about the co-op and everything, but I hopefully gives you a nice overview.
This is Bill. What do you grow? What kind of product do you grow? You didn't elaborate at all.
Oh, myself, vegetables, yeah, fresh produce mostly. Some, I do some commodity production as well, but none of that really goes through the co-op. I wish it could, but we don't have a grain elevator yet.
You mentioned your December 3rd event. Is that geared toward producers, you said?
I'll actually defer to Quinn on that. He can speak to that if he's still on the call.
Yeah, Ross, I think you hit every point that was necessary. Just kind of going back to how we're utilizing those dollars and kind of how it relates to this event. Just mainly strengthening our existing systems. I mean, we're not trying to go above and beyond. We recognize that our producers are at all different levels, and just getting really good at doing what we have been doing now for 4 years, and kind of continuing that down and looking down the line of how that looks for the next 4 years and beyond. This event that we have coming up is what we call part 1 of 3. We wrote in this particular grant 3 different trainings, 2 farm to school trainings and 1 wholesale training. So this first event that's going to be happening on December 3rd will be geared primarily towards producers in the Fargo-Moorhead area, although we will have it available online to anyone that would like to tune in. The goal is kind of just to show a pragmatic example of how farm to school looks right now. We're going to have Michelle Wagner from Bismarck Public Schools kind of speaking to her experience from the administrative side and kind of speaking to the administrative professionals in the Fargo-Moorhead area. And then we have a producer from North Dakota and one from Minnesota that are actively selling to farm to schools or actively selling through farm to school programs, kind of just to talk about how they have managed those relationships and how they've incorporated that into their enterprise. And then kind of just rounding that out with open discussion with those in the room as to what they think of all this and what next steps are necessary. And then in the springtime, we're going to host a wholesale readiness training to kind of piggyback on those that are interested in moving forward and provide educational tools for building wholesale markets within a farm enterprise.
Excellent. Well, if you wanted to share event details in the chat, if there's a link to registration or anything like that, this group, maybe leverage this group, our networks, to spread the word if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, we have everything ready to go. We're just trying to confirm a location. I just got off the phone earlier with the Cass County Electric Cooperative Office. The timing does not work for them to have security after hours, so we won't be able to utilize their space. So I am working in the background to kind of find us a space, hopefully before the end of the day.
All right. Good luck.
So is this a seasonal project, or I'm with your product? How do you sell it? Do you bag it, or is it just whole, fresh? I'm interested.
Well, yeah, we're well aware that we're in the North Dakota climate, so some of our fresh produce sales obviously slow down in the winter months, but we are a year-round organization. So that was a commitment we all made when we first started, was that we were going to keep this thing going all year round, and we're kind of dedicated to providing a platform for local food producers. So, a lot of producers don't have a market for their products in the winter months, whether they're making, well, I don't want to get into cottage foods at all because we don't allow cottage foods to be sold on our platform. But, there's other products that we can sell, like meat and eggs and things that, are still available during the winter months. But, we obviously our sales dip down during the winter, but we keep it open. We keep it as a platform so our customers have access to local food.
Hey,
Quick
Ross.
question. Oops, excuse me.
Go ahead, Paul.
Question for Ross. Does this co-op, in essence, eliminate the whole CSA thing for producers?
Well, okay, so I wouldn't say it eliminates it. We have hosted CSA farms on our platform, so we've allowed some of our producer members to sell their shares through the platform, and then we would actually help with the distribution of those shares. What we've more recently started doing through our platform is what's called a subscription. And so this past season, we started in, I believe, June, mid-June, kind of when the season gets rolling, we started a subscription program where customers pay a weekly fee, and they get a box, basically a fresh produce box every week. So it's kind of like a CSA. We're just not calling it that anymore because it really doesn't fit the definition of CSA anymore with what we're doing. So anyway, that's where we're at with that.
Yeah, you're allowing people to buy on a subscription, but you're not asking them to upfront the money in like the old CSA thing was to support the farmer to get to the point of producing stuff.
Correct. Yeah.
That's a good model.
Hey Ross, Jan here with Extension. I'm not sure if I'm familiar. So with the warehouse and the facility that you guys provide to your producer members, what sort of equipment or facilities do you have in the way of, like when everything gets there, is it ready, or do you have like wash and pack facility, like processing sorts of things available at the warehouse, or once it gets there, it's just ready to go?
Yes, it's packaged, it's washed and labeled when it arrives. We'd like to shift those responsibilities more into the co-op's domain, but we just don't have the facilities to do what you're talking about. That would be a dream for us to have, to be able to offer that service to our producer members. But right now they drop it off, and we have to do some moving things around, to assemble the orders because, a customer orders from 4 different producers, and then, we have to put it all together. So that's kind of how that works. So it's a small facility that we work out of. We have some cooling refrigerators and freezers where we can store things, perishable items, but really the product is there for, 2 hours, basically weekly. So it comes in and it goes out again right away. So with the exception of some of our meat products that we do store in-house in our freezers. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It seems like that, across the state, that light pack processing sort of piece always seems to be the missing component, and not only just like facilities and equipment, but the people to do that piece of it or that part of it. So good deal. Yeah. But potential opportunities for sure. Thanks.
And I would be remiss if I didn't, do a quick shout out to Farms. They have helped us with some interns. So we have had some summer interns that have helped with our aggregation and distribution activities. But really it's a lot of volunteer time among the members, and Candace, who is our employee extraordinaire who does a little bit of everything. So yeah, anyway.
Thanks, Ross. I did stick the registration for the December 3rd event in the chat, and then Stephanie put our website in there too. So the website, give you a little more information about who we are, and then you can also link to the storefront there and see what we have available for this week. Storefront opens Thursday morning again.
Excellent. Well, any further questions, thoughts, comments from anybody?
Just one more thought or question, and conversations that have been circulating in the Bismarck area, thinking about an area where there's enough vendors or enough producers to kind of support a co-op model like this. Like, are there thoughts or talks of like satellite locations or sister co-ops or anything like that, like shared model sorts of things in other areas of the state?
Certainly, I'll defer to Quinn on that as well. He's much more in tune with that
He was ready.
conversation.
He was unmuting already, so.
Jan, that's a really great question. I mean, that has been something that we have been looking at for several years now, kind of utilizing what we've done in the Fargo area as kind of the either this is the way to do it or don't do it kind of approach. I think it starts with, leadership in the local area, gaining interest from those that are going to be participating. I've definitely talked with producers in that area over the past several years as to what their interest is in doing that. People have definitely said they're interested, but when it comes time to actually put pen to paper or where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, there has not been traction, but by all means, definitely open to expanding and duplicating. I think there are working models throughout the United States that connect, regional food hubs with each other, and there's interplay where you can have shared management structure in some aspects of it. So there's definitely a conversation to be had there.
Thanks, Quinn. And if anyone's willing or interested in continuing the conversation on that, I assume on your website they could find some contact information to reach out on the co-op's website.
Yeah, I think we have a contact us form on there. Excuse me. I live in the we have a kind of a home page that we built as like a landing page, and then we have our actual e-market or e-commerce platform. They're closely tied together, but obviously, that requires a lot more management. So, I think Candace can speak to that as well, like how to get in touch with us.
I will put the email in the chat. It's just fm@redriverharvest.com, or you can do Candace at redriverharvest.com as well. I'll put that in the chat so you can just grab it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Candace. Looks like Emily posted in the chat too about the Cass Clay Food Commission. And so I don't know if you're connected with them, but yeah, that might be something to explore.
So could a local grocery store order stuff from you and get it locally, or is it just member owned or member buying?
No, we don't require membership to purchase. The membership is on the producer side. So in order to bring in new producers to the co-op, you pay a membership fee. But to buy from the co-op, no, anyone is free to buy. Our limitation, though, if you're outside of the Fargo Moorhead area, is that we can't get this product to you unless you come and get it. So we're hoping to get into a little more regional distribution at some point, but there's a lot of pieces that go along with that. So we're just not there yet.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing, Ross. Appreciate that. And we'll move on in the agenda. My apologies, Stephanie. I left you a little bit time crunched here in terms of time available. But do you have any updates from farms you'd like to share?
Well, I wanted to make sure to provide some updates about the Regional Food Business Center, since the North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance is a partner in the Regional Food Business Center, and these monthly NDL-FDA meetings are now serving as the reason we all heard from Bev and Ross today is because they are business builder grantees through the Regional Food Business Center, and this serves as the deliverable of those speakers for regional food business members. So the NDL-FDA monthly meetings are now the speaker, how do you say it, Chris? Like they're filling that deliverable of having those speakers for the partners in the Regional Food Business Center. For those of you who aren't part of the Regional Food Business Center, that is a It's about a year and a half into a 5-year project. There are 12 centers across the nation, and we're part of the North Central Regional Food Business Center, which includes North Dakota, Minnesota, and South Dakota. Maybe somebody could put the address to the North Central RFBC website in the chat. For those who are part of the center, I threw together a calendar because our meetings have multiplied. So when I take a breath, I will find the link and put that in the chat. But some things of note, we've started doing an annual North Dakota Local Food Producer Survey. This is actually a Farms initiative, which is part of one of Farms' grants, but we've expanded it to include the Regional Food Business Center. So Chris Gessley and Felicity Merritt are partnering with me on this survey. We are working on our survey questions now, and I believe we're going to open the survey in early January. So stay tuned for that. We'll be asking for help getting the survey out as widely as possible. Another initiative under the Regional Food Business Center is that Mitch from Lake Agassiz and Felicity are working on an economic impact study in partnership also with Brizelda from Souris Basin Planning Council. North Dakota has an opportunity to further strengthen our local food economies, especially if we can get buy-in from policymakers and larger stakeholders. But in order to do that, we need some data to really show the economic impact of our local food systems. So there's a proposal in the works to find some funding to do a large economic impact study to gain deeper understanding of consumer demand, market dynamics, and economic impact of local foods. They want to assess the impact that local food has on North Dakota's economy, change the narrative that is tied to local foods, and look at future trends that food businesses can make and use that to inform decisions and actual business plans. Business Builder grants, these grants that Hazleton Economic Development Corp and Red River Harvest Co-op received, will be available again in the new year. I believe we should be on the lookout starting in January for those to open. Farms is partnering again with regions 1, 2, 3, and 6. So that's the far northwest corner, the region around Minot, the northeast region where Sandy is, North Central Planning Council, and then region 6 is around Jamestown. So in those regions, farms will be providing additional outreach to let farmers know about the Business Builder grants and additional technical assistance in collaboration with those regional planning councils. And for those that are interested in getting more connected with the regional food business centers on a national level, there's a monthly T&TA meeting, and the next one is tomorrow from 1 to 2 p.m. And they're going to be talking about, they're going to be workshopping ideas from other states for workshopping tools and ideas that are in development. So I've put the registration in the chat. And Farms is holding launching a webinar series on scaling up local food markets, or expanding your markets is what we've titled it. And our first session will be December 5th from 6 to 7 p.m. And we're going to be looking at food hubs, food co-ops. So farmers from Red River Harvest Co-op and from the Manna Co-op in Detroit Lakes are going to be talking about what the benefits to a farmer of selling through a co-op and the considerations that a farmer should take. Okay. And that's what I've got.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any questions for Stephanie? Anything pop up for anyone? Okay, and all I'll add is that the board of the ND Local Foods Development Alliance is undertaking strategic planning in, I believe, February is our date. Or is it March? I'm getting confused, but it's on my calendar. We're just going to explore how this group could be more of value and more effective in those local food systems, promotion and advocacy. So that will be good. Yeah, and anything else for the good of the order?
One other thing, Chris, I'll add that Amanda McLean with Farmers Union was recently onboarded to the NDLFDA Board of Directors. So we've added one successful candidate. Appreciate her interest and willingness to step up and into that leadership role for the NDLFDA.
Yeah, thanks, Jan. And she'll be a wonderful addition to the board. With that, it's 3 o'clock, and I sure appreciate everyone's time and everyone logging on. The next meeting will be the third Tuesday in January, January 21st at 2 p.m. And you can find the meeting link on the ndlfda.org website. So thank you, everybody, and it was nice connecting.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Nev.